All right, you're listening to Open Mic with Coley Bryce. I'm here with Matawan music maven, magician, and mystic, Alan Gowa. Alan, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's an honor and a thrill, and I'm quite humbled. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my honor and my thrill, and this is great because I had just previously interviewed Gorgo Beach, who, in the context of the interview, I discovered he is also a Matawan,
yes, indeed,
based musician from back in the day. So that must have been interesting for you to hear some of his recollections.
Yes, it was interesting, and he brought up a funny story about when we had a big frozen night coming home from a gig in Atlantic City, which I had forgotten about.
Right. So can you shed some more on that? Because I didn't realize that you were affiliated with that, and I think that's an incredibly interesting serendipity. So.
Well, to tell you the truth, Coley, I really don't remember a lot about that night. I'm assuming I was playing with Fresh Fish. I don't know much about it, except that we were all the way far away.
What year are we
near
talking?
Atlantic City. I guess that would have to be in the 80s, sometime between 83 and 85-ish, I'm guessing.
Wow.
So it was a long time ago, and you know, some memories from then can be kind of foggy. But I just remember a very cold night, and we did have to give those guys a ride home.
So you were born and raised in Matawan, and that's where you began your musical journey?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn. We moved to a beautiful scenic Matawan when I was about 5. And then, so that's where I began my musical journey. And
how old were you when you started playing? You're a guitarist.
Yes.
Primarily.
Well, I started taking piano lessons when I was about maybe 5, 6, 7. And, I was, doing all the books and reading and doing what, any little kid would do. And then one day my piano lesson was on Halloween. And I'm like, what do you mean I can't go trick-or-treating? And they're like, no, your lesson is today. And I'm like, but it's Halloween. No, you're having a piano lesson. So I'm like, you know what? I quit. I'll show you.
How old were you?
I don't know, like 7. So I kicked myself for years because, by now it could have been Keith Emerson or Jerry Lee Lewis or something. And now my skills on the keyboards are very limited. I think they hack is the word that comes to mind.
So how soon thereafter that did you start playing guitar?
I think I started playing the guitar when I was about maybe 12-ish. And so it was a while. It took me a while to play
even
the
at
guitar.
that young age, it's rumored that you had a brush with greatness.
Which brush? Which one in particular? Pete Seeger?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
Oh, well, yes. I went to, there was a lot. We'll get back to the music in Matawan, but I went to a concert at the Clearwater Festival. Was in Atlantic Highlands, and so Pete's boat was there. And another thing I remember was that there was a band there that was a 3-piece band. It was organ. The first time I ever saw drums with a double bass, kick drum thing. I never saw that before. And so it was bass, organ, and drums. And they played in the court of the Crimson King. And I still remember this.
On a sailing boat?
No. These guys were like on the dock.
Oh, okay.
These guys were like, this 3-piece band was on the dock. And I do remember that they played in the court of the Crimson King. But I digress. Anyway, Pete Seeger was, coming down with the Clearwater, the boat, and I made my way onto the boat, and I guess I had been playing the guitar a little bit, and, I was foolish enough to say, hey, can I sit in? I know a couple chords. I know these songs. My mother was big into folk music. She would listen to like Theodore Backel and all this European music and gypsy music and Israeli music and Greek music. So, acoustic guitar. So, I knew my chords and I sat in.
How old are you now?
I don't know, little. I don't know. I'm going to guess maybe 12-ish. 12.
So just precocious and just like, yeah.
Just too stupid to know that I shouldn't, be messing around with a legend.
Did you have any idea of who he was?
Yeah, I did because, I was a big Peter, Paul, and Mary fan, actually. That was where I first learned about vocal harmonies. And Peter, Paul, and Mary had some really scary songs on an album of theirs called In the Wind. There was a song about the apocalypse.
Jeez, I never would have. Anyway,
oh, yeah. Yeah, it was called Very Last Day. Everybody's going to pray on the very last day when you hear that bell ring the world away. And that scared the crap out of me. And it was all minor chords. And they had another song on that album called He Had a Long Chain On. And it was about some scary guy outside the window, banging on the window, begging for food. And of course, in my little kid mind, I would picture, like death, a skeleton in a shroud.
Some ghoulish.
Yeah, exactly. And so Peter, Paul, and Mary, some of their songs really scared the crap out of me. And then I was very relieved when I discovered the Beatles, because at least it was major chords and it was happy harmonies.
So you're telling me that King Diamond and Merciful Fate had nothing on...
Not when I was a kid.
Wow.
Peter, Paul, and Mary terrorized me. And I remember I saw them at the Art Center in Homedale. I did see them. So anyway, I'm on the boat, and I'm playing with Pete Seeger. And, we're playing all the songs with, like Turn, Turn, Turn and all that. And he walks by and he steps on my foot. And I screamed so loud that, like, everybody stopped playing and everyone turned around and looked at me. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, young man." And I'm like, "That's okay, Mr. Seeger." But yeah, that was my first brush with greatness. Is Pete Seeger stepping on my foot?
Well, you stepped on his gig, so
I did. Yeah, I stepped on everything. And then years later, you and I and the New Age Blues Experience played the Clearwater Festival thing in Asbury Park.
Yeah, that was just a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd actually played there for their 20th too, back in '99, I think it was. Whatever. It's a wonderful organization and a really cool event.
Yeah, they do great work.
So what was that like? Did that experience encourage you?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, if I could stand him stepping on my foot, I could take anyone stepping on my foot.
So what happened after that?
Well, I kept playing, and I kept going to shows, and I lived near the Garden State Arts Center, and I lived near Penn Station, so eventually I would go to see shows at Madison Square Garden quite a bit. And my parents were pretty cultural folk, and they would take us to see, well, my father really wasn't into it. My mother was. My mother liked music, and she sang in the temple choir, so I'd have to see that, listen to that. She had a guitar. Yeah, so we just saw a lot of music. We would go to operas. We'd go to, I saw Broadway shows when I was a kid. It was a lot of music in my life. And one of my first big gigs, actually, was at my bar mitzvah, where I sat in with the Bobby Barnett Orchestra.
Whoa.
And, they're all wearing
Not
tuxes and everything.
Barnett.
Yeah, the Bobby Barnett. Yeah.
Electric or acoustic?
Oh, I was playing electric. I had
So when did you get your first electric?
Pretty soon before my bar mitzvah, actually. And I played it at my bar mitzvah, and I think I played Get Back and Johnny Be Good and maybe one or two other tunes. And then they launched into, I remember it was yesterday, they started playing Wild Nights by Van Morrison, and I'm like, I know this song. And Bobby Barnett's like, "You're done." And he unplugs me and turns off the amp.
At your own event?
That's right. That's right. I should have.
You don't do that.
He did do that, and I should have said, "Ma, Ma." But anyway, that was one of my first big gigs. That was also after I played at the big muscular dystrophy party. Also at, strangely enough, Bobby Barnett's niece had a muscular dystrophy event, and me and my little duo played there. And
gig karma.
Yeah, and I will tell you this too. Melissa Barnett, her son is Alex Brightman, the famous Broadway actor. He was the star of Beetlejuice on Broadway. He was Beetlejuice. He played the lead in School of Rock. He played the Jack Black role in the Broadway version. And he was a deranged lawyer in an episode of Special Victims Unit.
Was he also a
Great actor.
Mattawan-based guy?
Well, no, because his mother had moved away. But I knew his mother from Mattawan. Yeah.
So you had your bar mitzvah. That was like a Back to the Future kind of experience where you showcased your talents.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, exactly. It was like me being Michael J. Fox. Exactly.
So I'm assuming your first band came along pretty soon after that.
Well, yeah. There was a lot of music to be seen in Mattawan. I remember going to Temple Beth Am, and should I answer your question first, or can I digress?
Digress all you want.
I'm a digressor.
It's your interview.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, I did form my own bands, and I would play electric guitar and sing, and we'd get someone to play bass and someone to play drums, and, we'd play in various people's living rooms. You start out like everyone else listening to the Beatles and the Stones, and then the adjacent stuff like the Yardbirds and maybe the Kinks. And then you start getting into like Hendrix and Cream, Deep Purple. 10 Years After was a big influence on me, Alvin Lee. And so, we would jam. Like all our songs, like whatever they would just go on forever, which gave me a really good opportunity to just go, wheedly on the guitar and experiment. My friends were very patient. It's like, do you need another 20-minute version of Cream Spoonful? Maybe not, but that's what you got. So
what type of gigs were there for you in that scene back then?
Well, we would play at the Strathmore Bath and Tennis Club, which is now the Cambridge Club in Aberdeen. And I saw a lot of music there. I saw a lot of real good music. I remember that the guy who used to cut my hair played in a rock band, and he played a Vox Continental organ.
Whoa.
So they would play like anything that had keyboards on it, like Paul Revere and the Raiders. They'd play Doors. They'd play Deep Purple. I remember them playing Hush by Deep Purple. I remember Born to Be Wild, of course. So you'd go there to see bands. They had bands quite frequently. And then I saw there's a guitarist in Mattawan. I'll talk more about him later, Michael Newman.
Paul Revere and the Raiders. Isn't that a guy named Mark Lindsay?
Yes, he was the singer, yeah.
Can we take a quick side note?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, so as you know, I was living up in Maine for a few years, and Mark Lindsay had bought a home and a business up in this town called Lubec, adjacent to where I was living.
Sure, yeah.
I was hanging out with him one time at a local brewery up there, and it was a really interesting conversation because, just off of the success he had with that, he had a lifetime career playing, the county fair circuit or whatever, getting a $10,000 guarantee or whatever.
Wow.
And he's like, listen, man, I love being a has-been. It's the best. I'm not famous enough to be bothered, but I'm famous enough to get paid.
Wow.
And I go out in the summer, have a good time. I spend my winters writing and doing my painting. And I was like, wow, that does sound like
yeah, it sounds pretty good.
A perfect success.
Yeah.
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 Like, damn. Being a one-hit wonder is such an honor and such a privilege.
Sure.
And it's definitely better than being a never was.
Yeah, no hit wonder. Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there because you mentioned the band's name. So it was a fertile ground to see a lot of the acts of the day.
Yeah, and there was
what was happening in the local scene? Who was your competition?
Well, I don't know if it was competition, but there were a lot people like even older than me, and there was a band I remember seeing at Temple Beth Am called Odin, and it was the Cohen brothers, Tom and Jeff, and they, if I remember correctly, they sounded kind of like almost like the first Bruce Springsteen album or like Van Morrison, very R&B. They had an organ player, really good band, and I remember seeing them at Temple Beth Am, and I know there was a roller skating
rink. This is ironic
rink.
because my previous guest was Gorgo Beach, who had joined that band.
Yes, and that's exactly right. And
best band name ever, by the way.
Odin. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I know that they played with Bruce Springsteen back then. I believe they also played with him. There was
they had the same manager. They had Tinker.
Tinker, okay.
Carl Tinker West was the same manager.
Right. I know there was a roller skating rink in Keyport. I don't remember going there, but I know that Springsteen played there, and I think I saw something on Facebook, like a ticket of Odin opening up for them. So this.
Oh, that must be such a cool relic.
Yeah. I'm Facebook friends with Tom Cohen, so I see every once in a while some of the things that he posts, and so they were kind of like those guys. Some of them anyway had jazz training, like at Rutgers. I'm guessing. But they were like jazz dudes, but they played rock music. And then after Odin, eventually they morphed into a band called The Proof. And The Proof had a record deal with Nempera Records, which was run by Nat Weiss, who was the guy who brought the Beatles to the U.S.
Wow.
And so there was, I think, an arm of CBS. So they had a record deal, and I loved them. I saw them several times. I saw them in Asbury Park. They would tour. They toured with Pat Benatar and Joe Jackson. They did gigs with the Pretenders. And they were like, to me, a better, more interesting version of the Cars. an edgier version of the Cars. They were very new wave
Interesting.
and great singing.
So I thought the Cars were great.
Well, I like the Proof better than the Cars. I mean, I guess the only similarity was the hearing eighth notes. But Tom Cohen wrote great songs, great arrangements, great vocals, and the bass player in that band, Michael Hummel, was one of my two favorite bass players. Okay, Michael Hummel, great bass lines. He had the best tone. Okay, he would mute, play with a pick, and I remember he had a Rode amplifier because when I went to go see them in Asbury Park, I believe it had an 18-inch speaker in it and maybe a horn or something. He was my bass idol. And my other favorite bass player, of course, is Jay Walker from Coley Bryce and the New Age Blues Experience.
Yeah, I like that guy too.
He's pretty good. So they're my top two bass players. But Michael Hummel was a huge influence on me. And I, at one point, joined a band with a guitar player who had left the Proof. More about that later. But I went to go audition for the Proof, so I learned their songs, and I was so nervous, and I was wearing my glasses. My glasses were actually fogging up. I was like sweating. I was having a giant anxiety attack. I did not get the gig, but it was like fun and an honor to play with them. But great musicians, and Michael Hummel still makes music, and he's great. And I check out his stuff whenever I can. And they were from Mattawan, and they were a band.
So what was your first big band? Like the first band where you're like, this is the band I want to carry me into stardom.
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
All right, let's think.
What was the one where you had that dream and it was your first shot?
I had oodles of them because it was just everyone I was in. But the first band I was in that was like that was in high school. I played in a band called Medusa.
Whoa.
Now, it was two guitars, bass, and drums. Now, a lot of the other bands in Mattawan were playing like more R&B or Chuck Berry and all that. We were like the first kind of glam-ish band. We played Alice Cooper, we played Slade, we played Mott the Hoople, we played Aerosmith. So we were Alice Cooper. Did I say that right? So we were playing a different repertoire than all the other bands. And sometimes there would be like concerts where they'd set up like a bunch of flatbed trucks and get a PA system. We did a bunch of these with the other groups, and we sounded different. And, we dressed a little flashier. And we also, we had pyro and stuff. We were really going for it. And that's because we saw Kiss in 1974 at the Capitol Theater. And that blew our childish little minds. And I probably told the story many a time, but Kiss was on a TV show, it was Dick Clark's in concert on a Friday night. It was their first appearance. Their first album had just been out a few weeks. We go to see them at the Capitol Theater on Saturday night. They tuned up in the dark louder than the first band played. And the lights were off, but you could see like, okay, they have these giant Marshall stacks. But what is moving in between the Marshall stacks and the audience? And it's Gene Simmons, because he's 8 feet tall with those boots on, right? And they tuned up in the dark louder than any band I had ever heard in my life. And then, they played like click, 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 hit it. And they went into, whatever song they played, Deuce, and they turned on all the lights in the whole place. The first 5 rows got up and ran out to the exit because, they were terrified. These kabuki monsters playing at deafening volume and all the house lights were on. And, they had more amps than you'd ever seen. And it was just like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Excuse me?
Pure spectacle.
Oh, we loved it, and we also went to see them again at the Sunshine Inn in Asbury Park.
Wow.
So I never saw them in a venue that held more than like 1,500 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that band Medusa, I had high hopes for that.
Let's take another little side trip while we're at it. Ace Frehley's recent passing.
Yes.
What are some of your thoughts on that?
Well, Ace... How many thousands of people started playing the guitar because of Ace?
Millions.
Millions, probably millions. I have a 15-year-old guitar student who started playing guitar when he was 3 years old because of Ace. I've seen pictures of this online, and the kid plays with the kid. His name is Dallas, and he plays with a band called Kobe Reese, and they just came back from a tour of Germany They were touring with, I can't recall the name, Bonfire. They were touring with this metal band called Bonfire all over Germany for 3 weeks. And the other day they flew
And
out
how
to
old is this kid?
15.
Nice.
15.
He just wrapped up his first international tour.
Yeah, and Ace is his man. And then this past weekend, they went to Chicago to play with Dokken, Kicks, and Great White. So,
Wow.
and again, it's one of my students, and these kids doing great. And Ace, he wouldn't be playing the guitar without Ace, like millions of other kids. And when I saw Ace, and I think you and I had discussed this, I thought he was kind of like an amped up version of the bluesier aspects of Jimmy Page.
Yeah, I had never really heard that in his playing before, but when you had mentioned that made a hell of a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I watched recently a couple of live Kiss shows, and there's Jimmy Page all over the place. Yeah. And I think Ace was a huge influence on people. And then, from watching the show, I could see he's playing in a different place on the neck than Paul Stanley was. So they had a huge guitar sound.
Just to interject again, just because isn't it interesting how in music there's just all these serendipities and how like really it's this like crazy huge family tree where these things that are seemingly so disparate, when you talk to people, you usually find some degree of connection that is closer than you would have known.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Ace or anything like that, but this guy Carl Cochran played lead guitar on the second Phantom's Opera album, and at that time he was the touring bass player for Ace Frehley's band.
Right.
So it's like, would you agree that music's kind of like an interesting fraternity?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, how many friendships? How many friendships, do you make because of music? A lot of them. All of them. All of them. That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Wow. So, all right. So we're going back. Sunshine Ballroom. So you're in your embryonic efforts as a professional musician seeking opportunity.
Yeah.
But you're also feeding yourself with all this. I mean, rock and roll is still pretty young at this point.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, like, there was still a sense of, like, anything's possible.
Yeah, and the bands I was in, we would play at the dances at school. I got on the student council so I could have input in booking the dances.
Smart, good move.
I'd book myself, and they'd go, "You're not going to book yourself again." I go, "Oh, no, it's another band." But it was always me with a different name. And, we did a lot of dances, different schools in
And
the
by
area.
the way,
Yeah.
I don't care how big of a gig you ever do.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more exciting and cooler than playing in front of your high school.
Yeah.
There's nothing cooler.
Yeah, agree. It was great.
Well, I graduated. We don't need to talk about dates, do we? I graduated a long time ago.
I graduated from high school.
At our senior prom, we asked the band that was hired to play the prom if we could do a set.
Oh, nice.
And they took a break and they let us do like a little mini set, and it was like one of the most glorious moments of teen glory to play at your own prom.
Yeah, agree.
But that feeling, I think when a young musician gets a little hit of that, it's more powerful than any other drug.
No, it's quite
and
addictive.
It kind of sends you on a lifelong quest.
Yeah.
Like you still want that dopamine hit.
Yeah, and
like you chase it forever, don't you?
Yeah, and but playing music I think keeps you young.
It does, certainly immature.
Yeah,
if nothing else.
Yeah, because I was thinking earlier today, that first, the rush.
It keeps you engaged in life.
Okay.
Yeah, you still have a thirst and a hunger, and it's definitely better than just, people kind of give up on their dreams, I think, too easily, and I get it. I mean, it's easy to get on the couch and put on Netflix or whatever, and but I think music, it gets you out of the house, it makes you study, makes you kind of prepare, it does keep you, and let's face it, like life has difficulties. And I've always found that in the best and worst of times of life, music has been a potent way to metabolize all of it. good and the bad.
True, true. It can be very cathartic, or it can be escapism.
Oh yeah, that was the first 50 years of my life.
Well, there you go. There you go. And yeah.
Who am I getting the first 55?
Well, and I also have to say that, I have to thank you for being, I've known you for a while, and you don't have to say how long.
Since the mid-90s.
It's been that long, huh? Well,
yeah.
And you've been a great influence on me because you do all different kinds of music, you play many instruments, you're always creating, you've put out so much music, and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, and you've been a real inspiration to me. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know, but you've inspired me to keep going.
Thanks, man.
Yep, and I have a couple of people in my life who are like that. Another one is Andre Chumley, who's, he inspired me to, he's like, dude, your weird side. Keep working on that.
He has such an interesting background and has been involved. I hear his name in so many different circles. Mm-hmm. Some that I knew about because of things you've told me, and others where I was like, really? Mm-hmm. Sounds like a really interesting cat.
He is. I mean, I believe that he graduated from Rutgers when he was very young, a couple of years earlier than he should have. He's an expert on health food type things or natural foods. He owned a health food store with his girlfriend Sherry in Red Bank called Second Nature that, a lot of musicians used to shop there. He is very big in modular synthesizers, very big into looping, always does a lot of original music, and he's been a guitar tech. Right now he works with Pat Metheny. He's on tour with Todd Rundgren at this very moment. He's been everywhere, Pat Metheny.
These are exacting and demanding artists, too.
Yeah, Pat Metheny, I just couldn't imagine having that gig. Pat Metheny on his solo tour uses 14 different guitars. He sits in
How many different tunings?
Exactly. And I don't know if you're aware, there's a guitar called the Picasso guitar. Has 3 necks on it and 42 strings.
Oh, my God.
It takes 20 minutes to tune that thing up. And then, he sits in 3 different places.
So Andre's also a masochist, is what you're telling me.
Yes. Yeah, he must be very good at handling stress. He was Steve Howe's guitar tech.
Oh, my God. Adrian Ballou, right?
Adrian Ballou. I met Adrian Ballou through Andre, and, Adrian Ballou. And
he's also in a Frank Zappa
cover band.
That's for fun. That's to relax.
Yes, but the thing is, it's maybe it's not a cover band because he plays with actual Zappa alumni.
Oh,
there's at least 2 or 3 usually. So because of him, I've met a bunch of those guys.
Oh my God!
And
that's what he does in his off time. Yeah,
in his spare time. Yeah,
that's crazy.
So this
guy's like a genius.
He is. He's a genius, a super talent. He's always been very nice and very encouraging of me. In the same way that you are.
Oh, well, I'm honored to even be mentioned in the same paragraph.
Oh, yeah, man. Put you guys in the same paragraph.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's go back.
All right.
What was the next big band? So now you've gotten a little bit of stage experience. You've had a couple inspiring things.
Okay.
And you've had some ups and downs. You're starting to get your first little buckhorn starting to pop out a little bit. Where are we now?
Okay.
What year are we in?
Ooh, I don't know.
What's the scene like?
Okay, well, I might have still been in high school. So, this was about, 1942. And
no, what time are we talking? Late 70s?
Yeah, I'm going to say the very late 70s, maybe early 80s. And I joined a band called Warlord.
So Led Zeppelin's still playing?
Yeah.
Abbey Road's only 8 years old.
Right.
Okay. So rock and roll is still like Chris Lennon's on the outdoor laundry thing.
Yeah, hadn't been around that long. So this band, Warlord, was the first, I'm going to say we were the first metal band, probably in Monmouth County.
That's a big claim.
Well, I'll tell you why I say that. I'll tell you why, okay? Because, the cover tunes that we did were, very, very, very heavy. I was playing bass in this band. And I remember very distinctly that, we had a wall of Fender amplifiers, Bandmasters and Bassmans, the big ones. I was playing bass through a Big Muff fuzz box. I was playing a Dan Electro short scale bass, so it was very distorted. The guitar player, Larry, he was the first guy I knew that had an Echoplex.
Wow.
And various distortion things. And we were writing and playing our own music, as well as, covers. I remember we used to play Walk Away by the James Gang. But we did a lot of our own music. And then we began to go play in Asbury Park. I remember playing at the Warehouse. I remember we played at the, where else did we played at Julio's South. We opened up for an English band called Budgie. I do remember that. And Budgie, you could
Budgie
look
as
them
in
up.
the parakeet?
Yeah, but they were an English touring band
Yeah.
that came over here.
No, I think I might have heard of them.
So, and we played at like events like, Marlboro Day or whatever. We played quite a bit. We used to play regularly in Keensburg in the bars. And we were heavy, man. I mean, it was like...
What were the Keensburg bars like? Were they biker joints?
Yeah, some of them. And it was... it was...
Wasn't Keensburg gritty then?
Yeah, it was. It's not like it is now. I mean, it's not nearly, I wouldn't say it's gentrified. There's a couple of nice places there, but back then it was a dump, and it was rough.
Yeah.
But, we were playing tough music, and we were trying to be tough dudes. Oh, there was also a place on Route 30.
Let's take one other quick
Yeah.
side. So what are your thoughts on that? Tough joints, tough places, tough music. How do you think that because the Central Jersey hard rock scene, it always, I guess what some people would today call toxic masculinity.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's a blessing and a curse in that it gives you a certain edge and resilience, the scene and the toughness? But is it, or is it a detriment to feeling fully safe to explore all facets of your musicality because you have the vanity of the tough filter, if you know what I mean?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, in this particular band, we just did what we wanted to do, and we didn't feel like we were restricted by like if you think about punk, you had to dress a certain way, you had to play a certain way, you know what I mean? And then a lot of different forms of metal was also very regimented. But for
Yes.
us back then, we weren't adhering to any of that. We just did whatever we wanted to do. And, Jimi Hendrix Experience and Cream were big influences on us. So it was like at the old school dawn of metal kind of thing.
Right. So there's a little more
different.
leeway.
Yeah.
You could toss in a little flower power with your distortion.
Yeah.
It wasn't all like as segmented and
Yeah.
regimented as it would be even just 10 years later.
No, it wasn't like, speed metal or anything like that.
Right.
It was just very heavy, and it was a lot
But
of improvising.
what I'm talking about. 'Cause
Yeah, I do.
It kind of did go that way.
Yeah, it did.
Very,
Absolutely.
got
But,
very fierce.
yeah, but we were just, it was
Like when I started off, when I was a teenager,
Mhm.
there was like the true metal faith, and then there was the poser shit.
Mhm.
And, in some ways, being a poser served me well in my young
Sure, I bet it did.
laddiness, and in other ways, it nearly got me killed. So,
Sure.
this whole Bay Shore kind of area always had a little bit of that dark grit to it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. Yep, but it was, it was fun.
So after you pioneered metal,
Yes, I'm gonna say that. Yes, we pioneered metal in Monmouth County.
and what happened next? Where was the next part of your journey?
I started doing some cover band stuff. So
You got tired of being hungry and broke.
it wasn't that. It was just whatever opportunity came along, I would take. So I did some cover band stuff, and it was educational because
So you've always been musically curious and had a very wide spectrum of things that you've indulged.
I think so. I do cover band gigs to this day. And I've played just like whatever. It's just like it was like, can you play? You want to play keyboards in this band? Sure, okay.
So now we're in the early '80s, and
Okay.
you're exploring the cover band scene.
Okay. Yeah, but but then I still did original stuff too.
What was the cover scene like then? So I heard you could make a living in the early '80s
Well,
playing covers.
maybe you could. I wasn't. But there were a lot of bands who, they played whatever, I guess, the top songs, top 40, I guess you'd call it, But I certainly wasn't in one of the big cover bands on the circuit. I knew those guys, like I knew Bystander, and then later on in life I wound up doing duos and trios with Stan Steele, the guitar player. That was fun. He's great guitar, one of the other great guitar players, from around here. I'm just trying to think what the heck I did next. I did one. I know. I have a piece of paper, but I don't want to crinkle it and take it out.
It's okay.
I did
You
wind
can
up.
crinkle away. We're
Okay, all right. Let me see. Oh, Itchy K.
Itchy K.
Itchy K. Let's talk about Itchy K. All right. Itchy K was another very
No
unique
relation to
band.
Kenny K.
No. What happened was, strangely enough, we used to do a lot of recording. We did a lot of home recording. The guitarist had like 4-track equipment, and of course we'd flip the tape over, and the hi-hats would go chike when they were reversed. And like that's the name of the band. And we lied and said it means one race in Japanese, which was a big lie. But anyway, this band was.
Itchy K as in the Zildjian K series.
I think so.
Okay.
So the guitarist was Michael Newman, who's one of the most talented musicians I ever met. He plays guitar. He plays gypsy jazz. He plays
Like
jazz.
Django Reinhardt?
Yep. Oh, he's smoking Django Reinhardt, dude.
Wow.
Unbelievable. He plays.
That's a dying art.
Well, he had bands that did that. I would go see him play. Great player. He could play jazz. He studied jazz in college. There's no style of music that he's not expert at. I mean, deep. He wrote great songs. He played in jazz bands. He played in fusion bands. There's nothing that he's just amazing guitar player.
Musician.
Yes. And, I think anyone who knows him would agree. So I got into a band with him called Itchy K. And what we were doing was kind of like, it was a 3-piece band. We had 2 different drummers, one after the other, Richard Klein and John Henge, both very talented, very different. John Henge used to use timbales.
Oh, nice.
So, it had a different sound. I played bass with a pick and I muted it, copying the great Michael Hummel. Mm-hmm. I used a PA cabinet with an 18 in it and a horn. So you had the sound of the bass going boom, 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 and the click. On top of that, it sounded like 2 different instruments playing at once. And Michael, imagine if the Police had Latin music and rock music instead of reggae and rock music.
Okay.
That's kind of like where we were coming from.
Cool.
And Michael was writing these songs, and he was like into all these Latin rhythms, and some of the songs would be like jazz fusion, which was very demanding to play. Some of the songs would be very pop and very Beatle-like, and some of them would also be this kind of like if the Police were a Latin band. And I loved that band, and we had harmonies, and I thought Michael, besides being a phenomenal player, was a great songwriter. And I was really stunned that we didn't get bigger than we did. We used to play in Asbury. We played at CBGB's. We played all the places on Bleecker Street. We played...
So all the places in Bleecker Street, because some of them are gone now. So let's
Yeah.
talk about like Kenny's Castaway.
Yeah, Kenny's Castaways, the Bitter End. We used to play constantly at a place called RT Firefly. We used to play CBGB's, like I said. We played at Tracks, I believe. We played, a bunch of different places in Asbury Park. We used to play at Big Man's West.
Red Bank.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a great band, and it was an awesome experience.
By Clarence Clemens.
Yes, that's right. And Bruce knew Michael Newman because they were both at one time managed by Mike Batlin. So there was that. So we'd play down there, and we'd see Bruce and Michael talking to each other. It was interesting because it'd be like, hey, Michael, how you doing? Good, Bruce, how are you? Thanks for coming to see us play. Oh, yeah, cool. And, they knew each other.
Another serendipitous side note.
Mm-hmm.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. Because just the other night, Tuesday night, I played at the Asbury Park Brewery,
mm-hmm.
and the opening act was Nick Clemens, Clarence Clemens III.
There you go.
So, yeah, like the musical family, it's always It's always spinning.
It is. It is. And it is, and things keep moving on.
So this band that had a bit of a similarity. Not that you were copying the Police at all, but you were of the same time.
Yeah.
And also into this kind of emerging postmodern alternate sounds.
Yeah. In other words, it was
You weren't copying them. You guys were drinking out of the same well.
I would say that. I would say that. And I mean, the thing that made the band interesting was, you know, unlike if you have a 3-piece band and everyone's going together, you know, it was always like counter melodies and, you know, these weird rhythms, and then pop, you get hit in the head with the sound of the timbales. You know, it was good. It was good. We did a lot of recording. We used to record, we went to some local yokel studios, but we did a lot of home recording with 4-track equipment.
Nice.
And that was good, you know, and then we, you know, would do a lot of overdubbing, so it was good to learn about the recording process.
So you started getting some of your experience in the recording studio now, and
Yeah.
which would inform things down the road.
Yeah. So, you know, you could layer vocals, you could layer guitars, you could even have more than one bass track going if you wanted to.
So that band didn't get you to where you wanted to go, but it opened up a whole new
It was,
periphery of experiences.
Yes.
You got into New York City. You got got deeper into recording.
Yeah. And then
And then what happened?
Fresh Fish is what happened after that. So
Not the Fresh Fish that I saw on the Uncle Floyd's show.
the very same.
Oh my God.
The very same. So after being, you know, I was watching Michael writing all these songs.
For those listening who aren't aware who Uncle Floyd, it was basically a New Jersey only television show, esoteric channel. I don't know what.
Well, it was on several different channels, and they must have showed it in New York because David Bowie and John Lennon were huge fans of that show.
It was a big cult status local TV.
Ramones were on the show, the Smithereens, a lot of local rock bands. Like every band I know practically was on that show. We were on the Uncle Floyd show 5 times.
Whoa.
And we would say, well, Floyd, why do you keep having us back? And he'd say, because you stand where I tell you to stand when you come in. And he said, you show up on time, and, you know, you guys are like pros. And we were like, aw. So, you know, and I have videotape of that, and I tried putting some on YouTube, and I got a cease and desist from the guy that manages Uncle Floyd, whatever he does now.
Pat Meraki or whatever.
No. Should I say the guy's name? I don't care. His name is David Bird. And I got a threatening email from him saying that, you know, I wrote to YouTube and they're going to delete your channel if you don't take this stuff down.
Why would it hurt anybody?
I don't know.
If anything, it would help preserve his cultural legacy.
You would think. But anyway, so I have our 5 appearances, you know, I have them digitized in my computer. And
That's awesome.
I can't put them on YouTube. I had them on YouTube. They're gone now.
So put them on something else.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's cool. I
don't like to brag, Alan.
Yeah.
But I was also on the Uncle Floyd show.
Good.
And we won his statewide popularity contest.
Congrats.
And the prize was to do a live concert at the Dirt Club and have it filmed.
Well, okay.
And then the other prize, do you remember Chris Barry, the writer for the Aquarium?
Of course I do.
The other prize was a performance hosted by Chris Barry, who also is a local promoter in Asbury, World Beyond Presents.
Knew him pretty well.
That was my first gig in Asbury Park when I was 19 years old.
Wow.
It was from winning the Uncle Floyd contest.
Well, we in Fresh Fish used to be on a TV show called The Underground Cafe quite frequently. And Chris Barry would interview us, and there were other people who would interview us. And
he was quite a persona, very old school.
Yes. And we were in the Aquarian Band Contest finals, and one of our shows was at the Dirt Club.
Nice.
So, you know,
the esteemed Dirt Club.
We loved playing the Dirt Club. Yeah. So when I was in Fresh Fish, we played all over the place. We also played in New York constantly. We would go as far as Philadelphia. I mean, we would just go all over the place. And we also had a video. One of the guys in the band knew someone who worked on the New Jersey network doing cooking shows. So one thing led to another, and he came and he shot us at the...
I think we should mention, sorry to pause you, but
go ahead.
We should put this in the context of having listeners realize that it was actually a big deal to be on TV. Like now, you can do. We could go on Instagram and we might go viral and have a couple 100,000 people see it.
Right.
Not such a big deal as it once was, but back during that time, you only had print media, radio, and TV.
Yep.
And TV was like, if you were on TV at all,
yeah,
you were famous. Like I saw you on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, this is true. This is true. When we did the video, we did lip synced it 4 or 5 times in a club in Asbury Park, and then might have been the Pony actually, and then we shot a bunch of footage around, the Jersey Shore, and anyway, we put this video together, and then. So we were like the only local yokel band with a video, as far as I know. We went on the Joe Franklin show, which was syndicated.
That was real big time.
Yeah. So they showed the video. They interviewed us. This is on YouTube. You can see Fresh Fish on Joe Franklin, and they showed the video, and he interviews us.
That's some next level stuff.
Well, we thought so at the time, and
it was
in the same studio as Romper Room. So we were like, like playing with the doobie and the magic mirror and everything, and they were like, knock it off, or we'll throw you out of here. But like, if you point the camera this way, it's Joe Franklin. Point the camera the opposite way, it was the same studio.
As Romper Room.
So
that's history, man.
Right. So then
that was part of the pop lexicon.
Yeah. So then, and one thing Itchy K and Fresh Fish was very good at was getting newspaper coverage. We had a lot of interviews and a lot of papers. Fresh Fish was on the Sunday entertainment section of the Asbury Park Press.
That's huge.
And a couple, so yeah.
Back then, that was a big deal.
Well, our guitar player Steve Satterfield was very good at schmoozing people and getting them to interview us and put us on. We were on K-Rock. We were interviewed on K-Rock. He was very good at like this whole publicity angle. He was really, really good. And the video. We made a bunch of copies of the video and shipped them all over the country, and they would show them on, local yokel cable TV things, and they'd
here we had U68.
Yes,
the equivalent of that in other markets.
Yeah, and then we were on a show called 120 Minutes on MTV. They showed the video like 2 or 3 times, and I thought, this is it. We're on the way. We got interviewed on K-Rock, and anyway, I guess we weren't on the way. We did have a meeting at MCA Records, and there was discussion of this guy, the guy who produced the song "The Future's So Bright, I Gotta Wear Shades," was interested in doing something with us, and there was numbers discussed and all that, and we just couldn't come to an agreement. And then, but Fresh Fish was, kind of big on a local level, and it was cool. I thought that we did a lot, considering that we really didn't have professional management.
And what year are we talking now?
I'm going to say 87-ish.
Okay.
87. And
so you've been in the game almost 10 years now. You're starting to learn some stuff. You're starting to figure out how things work, and you're firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. And so we did, a bunch of different recordings. We did some recording where me and Steve played everything. We did other recordings where we had a band. We got my brother Paul on bass and a really, really good drummer named Mumbo Cochran. Great, great, great drummer. I'm still friends with him. So, they were the rhythm section, and Steve and I played guitar. It was great,
And you
we
were
gigging
the lead
all the time.
vocalist in this project.
I was the lead megalomaniac. I wrote the songs.
Right. This was your baby. You were the band leader. You were the front person.
And they were gracious enough to follow me around for not much money to play these original tunes. And it was, looking back on it, I'm really touched that they, would do it. It was like, I guess they had faith in the project.
Right.
And it was great. So that was, something that I loved doing, and I still have recordings. And then after that band broke up, Steve and I did something called Set for Life, and we recorded that on 8-track in my apartment. And
after Fresh Fish broke up, though, like, did you have to come down from that a little bit? Because it seems like you had stretched the most professionally and got closest to what were your aspirations at that time. Was there
Yeah.
Was that a tough thing to let go of? And
Yeah, I was bummed. I was really bummed, but for various reasons, it just didn't continue, and I was really bummed out. And then
well, I don't think people know, right? Because especially, you put in like a Rocky One type effort to just even get in the ring,
yeah,
and it's hard to, there's all the excitement when tangible goals like being on K-Rock and being on MT. I mean, that's back then. That was as big as it gets. That's all you could possibly do before you got to the next level.
right.
So as much as that climb must have been enlivening and exciting, when you didn't get to where you wanted to be.
Yeah, my little feelings were hurt. They really were, because I really thought, like, this is good. I believe in this, you know. And that's something that, I think is a thing of youth, and it's harder to have that later on.
Especially after you take a couple hits like that.
Yeah.
It's one thing when you're 20 it happens. It's another thing when you're 30.
Yeah. Right. Yep. So it was a big disappointment, but we Steve and I got back together and did a thing where we played all the music, and we managed to get this on a bunch of different like compilation CDs all over the country.
Because now you're smarter and you know what's going on, and you know how to get into the business a little bit more.
Tiny bit. Again, this was all Steve was the business guy, and it was also real good experience recording wise, because we were doing everything. And actually, there's no drums on this recording. It's programming drum machines. So the recording, and many, many, many layers of guitars and vocals. It was quite psychedelic, some of it. And actually made a video for one of the songs called Same Sky, which you can see on MTV, not on MTV, on YouTube. You can see it. I'd recommend everybody check it out. And it was good. It was a great song. A lot of guitars, a lot of singing, slide guitar. It was pretty ambitious for like homemade.
Now it's interesting. You had said MTV rather than YouTube.
Yeah.
But in a way, YouTube kind of is the music discovery tool of the day.
And TikTok.
So what are your thoughts as a lifelong musician who's lived through all these different eras of different types of mass media that went to new media? And we used to live in a culture where the access to media either had to be like hard-earned or bought and paid for. Like,
okay.
When I was 19, I had the audacity to put a full-page ad in Metal Edge magazine.
Okay.
And there was instantaneous results because they had an ABC certified. The amount of people that read the magazine was like 500,000 issues at the time. It was very so. A certain amount of eyeballs were going to see whatever you put in that magazine from cover to cover.
Right.
And it was kind of a big deal to be in the a 14-year-old in Indiana didn't know I paid to be in it. They just saw my picture in it. And assumed I was famous because
right.
And in my time in the music industry, I've come to realize, a lot of success is manufactured, and then people believe it. And
it's what it looks like.
Yeah, and then you get enough inertia going, and actually people do start buying into it, and the spigot turns on.
Right.
Not, well, we could argue about what the merits or deficiencies of that are, but it is a fact.
It is a fact, and the thing is, nowadays, I know from personal experience with this band I'm playing with now, Billy Penn and the Inside Drivers, we have a team, and we have a team that is, we have 2 and now 3 photographers and videographers. There's 3 people who shoot this stuff, and one of the photographers is Katie, who Whiskey Diet is her online handle, and she's a fabulous photographer. And then she put together our website, and then we work with Monique at Little Indie Management, and she's also a great photographer, and she posts. She knows when you have to post this stuff. I don't know anything about this algorithm stuff. She does. Okay, and we also have another photographer, Maria, who just started with us at our gig last week at the Belmont Arts Center. But I will tell you that Monique got us from like getting 40 hits of a video to like 1,400 to our best one so far is about 4,500. So she knows that aspect of the business, and I guess you have to. It's not something that I could do.
Do you think the fact that social media has kind of leveled the playing field with regard to self-promotion access, do you think it's kind of taken away some of the specialness of when it was being in a magazine or being on the radio or being on TV?
I don't know. I mean, because basically it's like, it just, I hate to say it, but it's the way it is. I hate the expression, it is what it is. I hate saying that, but it is what it is. And it's just kind of like, you
can either bemoan yesteryear or you could be in the now.
I was just going to say bemoan. Why bemoan it? Because it doesn't, this is the reality. So if you can get with it, it's like, what? I remember a long time ago when the drum machines started coming in and all the drummers were like, wah. And then a couple of drummers that I know said, I'm going to learn how to program this thing. And they got gigs in recording studios programming the drum machine. It's like, you got to move along.
You can't change.
That's a good way to put it. So it's just kind of like, and same, and like recording, of course, now you can make fabulous recordings at home, which you couldn't do. So that also, the playing field has been democratized or leveled or whatever you want to call it. And you can debate the merits of that. Like, there's a lot of crap music that sounds really good sonically.
Right. And now we have AI, so you don't actually have to play.
And there's all that. There's all that. Yeah, I mean, so that's, a whole thing, that you can discuss. But it's just, it's what's happening now. So you can complain about it or you can embrace it in a way and see what you can do to continue moving forward.
Well, since we're talking about now, let's stay with now for a minute. We can go back.
Sure.
So right now you're with Billy Penn and the Inside Drivers, and you guys, that must be welcome at the stage of your career and your life to kind of have this little project that's turned into a little something.
Yeah, it's going really well. I enjoy, Billy's a great guitar player. So it's kind of like, you go to band practice and you're watching him play and your mouth hangs open and you forget to play sometimes because, like, what did he just do? And we've recorded a bunch of stuff at Surefire.
He's primarily a Telecaster player.
Oh, yeah. He is,
He's a Telecaster wizard.
He is a wizard at the Telecaster, all the chicken picking. He's like, he can play super, super, super well in that country and rockabilly genre.
And he's not just a virtuoso in that genre. He could build your guitar and your amplifier.
That's true. He does have Penn PMA services on Water Street in Toms River, New Jersey. And he, is an expert on amp and guitar building and repair. He makes his own amps, Penn amplifiers. Penalizers. And he's just meticulous in everything that he does. Meticulous with his work.
So he's like a rockabilly Da Vinci.
Yeah, I'd say so, yes. That's a good way of putting it. It's like, yeah.
He seems, I don't know him well. I've been acquainted with him for a while, and I've been to 3 of his different shops over the years, but he has a very exacting persona. He knows, he's not an arrogant guy, but he's kind of got like this like samurai warrior exacting self-assurance about him.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing, and he's confident in his abilities, as he should be. And he's just, people ship him guitars from all over the country, and he is an expert on, vintage instruments and amplifiers. He's the guy. If I wanted to have my sustainer pickup repaired, I might go elsewhere. But as far as, I've seen in his shop, like, old Gibson SJ200s, and that's a glued-in kind of neck, and the neck is off it, and he puts it back together. You can't even see where the neck joint is, what he did. His work is just immaculate, and he's just great. And you could eat off the floor in his shop too. It's really clean.
Yeah, no, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, and he writes great songs, and yeah.
How does he segment his life? Where he's like the shop,
I don't know,
master.
No, you'd have to ask him.
He's seems like he must have incredible personal self-discipline.
He does. It's an inspiration to see how hard he works and how he makes things happen. It's inspirational.
What's the next gig with that band?
We're going to be playing New Year's Eve at a place called Black Eyed Susans and Harvey Cedars.
LBI.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so we have that coming up on New Year's Eve. I know that we have
No, Harvey Cedars is part of LBI.
Okay. All right. Good to know when I try to find it. We're going to be going back to Albert Hall. I think we have 3 or 4 bookings there next year.
Yes, you've been very well received there.
Yeah, they seem to like us. We're going back to the Belmore Arts Council in March. And there's other things in the works, but those are the things I know about so far.
And you guys have been recording prolifically.
Yes. We've been going to Surefire. Joe DeMeo is just the man.
He's a living legend at this point.
He is. He's fantastic to work with on every level. He's just great, and again,
it's so consistent, the quality of what comes out of that studio.
Yeah, and he's also another guy who's like, he inspires you. He's got such a great attitude. I've been in a lot of recording studios, and people are like, all right, do it again.
Right. It's not a good feeling.
No, and I've had like 2 or 3 peak recording experiences in my life, and working with him is one of them. And again, along with
and that studio is just so cool.
Yeah, I mean, he's got so much cool stuff in there.
It just reeks of patina, and it's big, warm space, and
it's great. When I record there, I use this ancient Ampeg bass amp. One of those flip-top things. I think it might be a B15, it might be called. And he's just got, tons of great outboard equipment. I know he's got a preamp from the Rolling Stones mobile truck.
Wow.
Because I was like, what are some of your favorite pieces of gear? And he has, killer
he's
microphones.
Got a U47.
Yes, he does. And, he not only does he have all the gear, but he knows how to use it. And...
as you know, I'm a prolific home recording enthusiast.
Yes.
But
inspiration to me, once again.
Last year, I got invited to play on a Kenny K record, and I got to play on the grand piano at Surefire.
Yeah.
And my God, what a wonderful experience to just come into a real studio, let someone else push the buttons, play a real grand piano.
Sure.
In a real big room with this beautiful sound. It's just like, as much as I enjoy the empowerment of recording at home, my God, what a difference when you can really go to a pro and let them do what they can do.
Yeah.
In their environment.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. It's just great. And again, he's part of the team. As is Katie, as is Monique, as is Maria. Joe is part of the team because he, makes our recordings happen. And another very important part of the team is Coley Bryce, who does our mastering. And we love what you do. We love it. And
I'm just happy you guys are happy.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you need anything mastered, I highly recommend Coley Bryce.
Well, if it works for you, it works for you. I'm happy to help anybody in any way I can musically. I'm try to be a Swiss Army knife myself.
Well, no, I mean you have great ears. You mastered my Gowatronic project, and I'm still thrilled with that. So thanks.
Let's bring that up a second too.
Okay.
Because that was on a small indie label that had some pretty cool releases.
Well, yeah, the label, one of the owners is Trey Gunn, who used to play with King Crimson. So
that had to be an absolute thrill for you, because you're a huge Crimson fan.
Yeah. Actually, my initial contact was with Elliot Goldstein. Okay, and Elliot Goldstein hooked up the whole thing. He really was the one who said, Alan, you have to do something with your music. So he made it happen, and then they got into a distribution deal with 7D, and 7D is owned by Trey Gunn. And initially when it came out, I mean, I saw all of the internet with press releases, and
So that had to feel so validating for you.
it did. But I will say that I hang on a sec. How do I put this? I just thought it would have done more than it did. You know, because I really liked it. I mean, it was good stuff. I really liked it. It sounded good. I loved doing it. I loved the process of making it. I love how you mastered it. I just thought more would happen. I have my theories as to why it didn't, and I'd rather not go into it.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you personally, but yeah. But
Well, I mean, I think a lot of artists can identify that, where you put your best effort into something, and you really do feel like it's going to stand on its own legs, and it falls short of what you had hoped. And it's, the thing is, when we pass off the baton, sometimes you don't know what people are going to do or not going to do.
Exactly, and the label has many artists, and all of them more well known than me.
Right.
So I guess if you're going to throw your resources at something,
And there's limited resources.
right? So I mean, I get it, and that's that's really what my theory.
Certainly
about what
didn't
happened.
hurt you, though.
No, no,
And
no.
the next time you want to release something, you can be like, well, I was distributed by Blunt. So,
Right, and I have a lot of material recorded for Gowatronic 2. I'm working on it. I'm going to continue to work on it, and I did a video for one of the songs on Gowatronic called Fresno 9, and you can see that on YouTube and other video type things. And I was happy with the way that came out, and there's drone footage in it, of me in a park with the drone trying not to hit me in the head while I'm playing the guitar. And there's a lot of cool psychedelic stuff, and I was happy with the way it came out. And that also, I did the video, so it forced it forced me to work with iMovie, and I learned a lot, and I recorded it myself at home too. So I learned a lot about the recording process and about making videos. and
right,
things.
like when you were a kid and you were like doing your first video on 3/4 beta, these.
Yeah.
Would you have ever predicted there was a time where you could be on a laptop in your apartment and directly publish something to?
Nah, who would know? Who would have known? Who would have known? And then, especially now, I mean, you can take it a lot further than I did. And the past couple nights I've been educating myself a little bit. And, I'm going to continue to make videos, and I'm going to continue to make music. And when Inside Drivers do gigs, we had put together some clips, and I would edit things out of a show and put take the best 30 seconds and put effects on it and transitions and things. So it's all good for my video editing chops.
So you're not 16 anymore.
No.
But if you could win the musical Mega Millions today, what would your dreams coming true look like at this? Like, I would imagine what your dreams are now might be different than what they might have been as a kid starting out. Or are they exactly the same?
Well,
is that the key to it? Is having
I gotta tell you, I mean, I go through different.
Like, would you still want to tour?
Sure, if I could. I mean, yeah.
So you wouldn't mind crawling onto the bus and sweating and just...
No. Well, I mean,
you
why
still
not?
have that hunger.
If you have the opportunity, you might as well take it. No, and it's again, I'm inspired by people like you who continue to make music.
Oh, I'd still hobble onto the tour bus.
Of course you would.
I'm a lifer too.
Of course you would, and of course you are. And it's good for me to see other lifers.
Let's touch upon that for a second,
All right.
and tell me if you agree or disagree. But you're the teenager. You got the rock and roll dream. You got your gang at your side. It's like, we're gonna make it.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. And then 18 comes and you lose a couple. They go full time to college somewhere. And like, well, I still got these guys. And like 21 comes and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna get married. I'm starting a job. And then it's like, all right, well, I still got good old Al here. Like,
Right.
30 comes. Al's like, listen, man, I'm going to Lincoln Technical Institute to learn diesel mechanics. And it's like,
Get my own set of tools.
yeah. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I find, I'm 57 and I'm still going at it. And, but the ranks certainly thin out over time of lifers,
Yeah, no doubt about it.
No
doubt.
But if you really are that, I don't think you have a choice.
I guess I have to agree. I mean,
Win, lose, or draw.
Yeah.
I mean, I think defining material and worldly success as a musician is different than it is for like a lot of other professions. Like, if you got a car that's insured and running well, and you live inside and you got hot water,
Yeah.
and you can eat, you're a fucking successful musician.
Hell yeah. Agree.
You're doing all right.
Agree. Yeah.
If you got to work a full-time day job to support your recording and performing habit, you're a successful musician.
Right. Yeah. So,
if you're still doing it,
Mhm.
if you're still engaged in the process,
Mhm.
I think you're a successful musician.
I agree. I agree with you. And I would say that sometimes, the level of motivation, I guess, waxes and wanes. Is that what people say?
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you're really gung-ho, and sometimes maybe not so much so. But, it's something that's in there. It's something like that lives in you.
You think that after so many years carrying around heavy gear that it would get lighter from working out all the time, but for whatever reason, it gets heavier.
Well, I will tell you this, Coley. In my laziness, I don't use tube amps anymore. I use solid-state amps that hardly weigh anything. And the bass guitar that I play is like very, very, very light. I'm really big on small equipment that weighs nothing. And maybe I'm lazy, but I mean, if you can get the sound 75% of the way there without, getting a hernia, I'm in.
Listen, hernias, discs popping out, all this stuff. A lifetime of, because when you're young and you're carrying that gear around on black ice, and you'll be wearing like crazy boots and you'll slip on the ice.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're more worried about your fragile tube amp hitting the ground than you are yourself.
Yeah.
So you'll shelter your gear with your body, and you don't think anything of it.
Well,
but
yeah, agree. And
it's almost like being a professional athlete to a degree.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a certain amount of physicality
There
to
is.
being a gigging musician that
Yeah.
people don't realize. I mean, yeah, playing on stage is great, but all the other crap that comes with it.
There's that. And then there's also, let's say you're doing solo gigs. Are you standing up or you're sitting down? That's a big philosophical argument I have with myself. Like I do these acoustic guitar gigs where I do looping and playing the guitar and singing. And, at this point I'm still standing up because I think that maybe I don't know what, part of it is because I think if people sitting on the other side of the bar, they can only see the top of your head if you're sitting down. So they don't need to see the top of my head. But I mean, that's part of the physicality too, in a way.
To me, it depends on where I'm playing. Well, honestly, sitting down hurts worse than standing for me.
Okay, interesting.
Because when I sit down, I usually do the 3 hours straight.
Okay.
And when I'm done, I'm like,
no good.
oh.
Yeah, you got to stand up and walk around
I'm
sometime
like
in there.
frozen.
Sure.
Not that standing for 3 hours is easy either. I mean, I don't know. It depends on where I'm playing. If it's a place where it's like mellow and I'm there to I don't want to be intrusive to the vibe, I'll gladly sit.
Gotcha.
If I'm playing like a place where there's a potential for rowdiness and unsolicited audience interaction, I don't want to be up on my feet.
Right. Gotcha. And then also nowadays, let us not forget, guitar players in particular, you can bring your modeling thing with you and not bring amps to the gig at all.
That's true.
As a matter of fact, like if you play in Atlantic City or Las Vegas, a lot of places demand that. They don't want to see amps on the stage. They just want you to plug directly into the PA, and then someone will manage how the sound comes out. So then the equipment is even less if you're not bringing an amp.
Yeah.
There is that. And modeling's come a long, long, long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good for a long time. It's been good for a quarter of a century, realistically.
Yeah.
When those first Line 6 pods come out, And the
I
Sans
don't
Amp.
know, but I still have one, and I still have
my
a
rack
bunch of the
mounted
Sans Amps.
Sans Amp PSA 1. It still sounds great.
Yeah, you can
And I
use
mean,
it.
that was
Yeah.
95, 93,
Yeah.
earlier, you know?
One thing is I have I have way too many effects processors, because over the years I got to try that one, I got to get that one, I got to get that one. But a lot of these things now you can just plug them direct in and you get a good enough sound.
But yet you still hoard your gear like a dragon in a cave.
Well, I don't know what to say. I really got to get rid of
I'm not
stuff.
judging. I'm a gear slut myself. You know that.
I really have to develop the ability to part with things and sell them. I really do.
I do.
It's a goal. It's a goal for 2026. Tis.
Well, it's interesting being a musician because, I mean, there's been many times in my life where my Les Paul was much more valuable than my car.
It's funny. Yeah. I mean, I've had many a $2,000 car.
Right.
Not at this time, but yeah, sure. And then, people will say like, well, why do you need to have a Les Paul and a Strat and a Telly and a
the
Parker
ignorance,
Fly?
the profound ignorance.
And I could go on. And it's like, well, this, I can't do a country gig with this guitar, and I can't do a metal gig with that guitar.
Well, you did play the metal guitar at the Asbury Park Jazz Festival.
That was a very unfortunate choice.
What was that?
Well, we played at the Coley Bryce and the New Age Blues Experience. Played at the.
It was like the 40th annual or something.
I don't know what annual it was.
It was a rather prestigious event for our low.
Well, we were invited to play. However, that happened, and the guitar that I was playing at the time. I think it was a Jackson guitar,
Yes,
so
it was a metal guitar.
Yeah, it had a pointy headstock.
It was a metal trick guitar.
It had a pointy headstock and a Floyd Rose tremolo, so you can do all the dive bomb sounds. And I take out the guitar to tune it up, and the audience start booing the guitar. I hadn't played one note, but it was like, you can't play that guitar.
I got to tell this story a little bit real quick.
Go.
This was 2011.
Okay.
And we were on a really good run for middle-aged guys. We'd headlined the Pony a couple times on the bill. We played the Surf Club with Marshall Tucker Band.
Yes, we did.
We were. I could say we were a A-list Asbury band.
We played with Dick Dale.
We played with Dick Dale. Like we were on a good run.
Yeah.
We're not bad for old guys. We thought we were old then.
That's funny.
But we're on a pretty good run for the day. So
it's going well.
Somehow I managed to parlay that into getting on a guest slot at the Asbury Park Jazz Festival, which I thought would be good for our resume, our curriculum vitae as a band.
Sure.
And I thought we would do. I knew we weren't jazz, but we could. We were good at jamming with jazzy elements and better than average rock and roll dynamics. And for this particular gig, we had this sax player, Matt Lott, who played a bunch of saxes, but he particularly had a 1948 Silmer tenor saxophone, and it was so breathy and wispy, and at his best, he sounded like Lester Young squeezing out his last gasp of life. He had a gifted player, but he kind of had like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, and his mental state could affect his playing, which, not uncommon in jazz players, I don't think. And anyway, he was our one-star athlete for this particular event. We figured we'd just pass the ball to Matt because he can't not sound jazzy. And then we had Jay's dad, Steve Lusardi, who is one of the credited founders of the sound of Asbury Park. He's on the plaque in front of the Paramount Theater, and he was our other jazz guy. He had played in the Orchard Lounge, and he'd played the Asbury West Side jazz scene when it was in its heyday. So also well credentialed, and that guy is forgetting more about jazz than the rest of us will ever learn collectively. Mm-hmm. So I felt like, we'll just do our tunes and we'll just have these expanded solo sections and lean heavy on Steve and Matt. Well, we get there. Matt decides he wants to try using in-ear monitors for the first time. I'm like, dude, you're used to playing in bars with wedges. I don't think it's a good time to try that. Those things can feel very sterile and very too clear. And he's like, no, man, I want to try. I'm like, all right. And I guess Steve was having a monitoring issue as well, because when we started our first tune, I don't know what song he was playing. It may have been a great jazz standard, but it was not one of our songs. And we like crash landed right out of the gate. It was and our drummer, who is, you know, supposedly the toughest guy in the band, was so intimidated, and I don't know, we just it was not it was not our most exalted moment musically, morale wise. Alan, have I described this adequately?
I'm getting nauseous just reliving it.
And Alan was permanently traumatized because before he played a note, he had already been ostracized and was close to getting tarred and feathered just because of the mere presence of his guitar.
You know, it just didn't occur to me. It was, you know, the guitar I had been playing a lot, and I didn't know it hurt everybody's feelings.
And I don't know. I can't personally recall one redeeming thing of that gig.
Well, I just never heard of people booing a guitar.
I just remember, like, in the middle of one of the tunes, something like some dude like, that ain't jazz.
Yeah, right.
And I was just like, oh my God, I just feel like just fraudulent imposter syndrome, and it was like,
Yeah, it wasn't our crowning glory
moment
by any means.
No, but we did have plenty of good gigs too.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we played with Dick Dale. We played with Marshall Tucker Band.
That was a cool night.
Yeah,
that was 1,000 people spilled out onto the beach. Both my brothers were there. We were tuned up, sounding, and you know, we'd been playing a lot of gigs at the Saint, where you don't exactly get paid especially well, or you know, sometimes you're like worried about where you were parking and hoping you'd be safe carrying your stuff to the door. You'd be a little nervous walking around a corner. We get to the surf club pre-Sandy. It's not there anymore, so another reason why it was great that we had that experience. There was like 3 guys that showed up at your trunk to help you get your stuff in. It was quite luxurious.
It was very nice. It was very nice. I played at the Felt Forum a couple of times.
Wow.
And they had, I guess, what you would call union goons who, you know, was like, no, you can't touch that. They put my amplifier on a pallet and they rolled it across the stage, and then, you know, they would put it down, and I'd plug it in and go, oh, no.
Was that with your Elvis gig?
Well, I played there twice. I played at an equipment expo. A local company called Delilah gave this band I was in, Itchy K again, they gave us a bunch of guitars and basses and pedals, effects boxes and stuff. And that was a really cool gig. I mean, we played with Emmett Chapman, who invented the Chapman stick.
Wow.
Played that day. We played with Lyle Mays from Pat Metheny's band. Larry Coryell played. You know, it was like a bunch of like really
heavy hitters.
Musicians. And us.
In a very well-regarded venue.
Yeah. So anyway, that was cool. We did that. And then, yes, I did...
What were some of your other bigger high-profile gigs?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. With the Inside Drivers, we opened up for Chuck Berry in St. Louis. Chuck Berry would do...
And St. Louis is Chuck Berry's home turf.
Yeah, he lives in Wentzville, which was about a half hour from there. So he played a monthly gig at a place called Blueberry Hill. So one of the guys...
the Fats Domino song.
Yeah. So one of the guys in the band knew Chuck, and we wound up flying out there.
Well, Alan, you might not believe this, but some people listening to this may not have even heard of some of these things.
That's true.
So I'm trying to provide a context.
Okay. In Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox plays Chuck Berry music. And there's a scene where they go,
Alan,
Chuck.
Some people might not even know what Back to the Future is.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That came out in 80.
Okay, well. Chuck Berry was very
Into
famous.
the time warp again.
He wrote Johnny Be Good. He wrote Roll Over
People are gonna
Beethoven.
know that.
Okay.
Johnny Be Good, dude.
Okay, so we went out there. We played with Chuck. They
One of the founding fathers of rock and roll.
yes. So they introduce us. Here they are from New Jersey. Boo.
Oh, they must have gone quite well in St. Louis.
Right. So anyway, we played very well. We had to do 3 encores. Okay, and then
So they hit you tough, but they let you.
yeah, it was good.
You won. You
It
won
was
them
good.
over.
We won them over, and then after the show, we were standing on the side of the stage watching Chuck Berry play. And what I always tell people is the thing that hit me about that was that when you think of Chuck Berry, if you know who he is, you think about the guitar playing, very famous Chuck Berry licks. There's a style. His lyrics, he was like a poet of the time. And he had a lot of classic songs, that people still play. But what hit me was the sound of his guitar. I was like, oh my God, he sounds just like Chuck Berry. Because he was using the same amp from the 1950s, a Fender Showman, and he was playing a Gibson ES355, I think. And it was like, wow, not only is he playing Chuck Berry songs, but he sounds like Chuck Berry. And then, after the show was over, his family was very nice to us. People were asking us for autographs, which, it was very nice. It was very touching that people would do that. And then his daughter Ingrid, who plays harmonica, great singer in the band, took us to another club where we jammed on another band's equipment.
Like an after hours kind of.
Yeah. This was going on until like 4 a.m. There was a lot of activities going on in this club that don't usually go on in a bar.
Right.
Very unusual. And it was funny because, we were playing on other bands' equipment. So Billy Penn was playing on the same type of guitar that got me booed at the jazz festival. A pointy
I didn't think
headstock
his
guitar.
hands would be able to touch one without burning.
Well, he did that, and I was, playing some guy's bass that was down by my kneecaps. And so we stayed there all night and played, and it was really cool. And then she took us out for hamburgers at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And then we went back to the hotel, and then, we got on the plane and came home. And then I was playing with another band about 4 days later at the Brighton bar to like 16 people.
That's rock and roll.
Yeah.
Another side note, so you mentioned the Chuck Berry sounded like Chuck Berry because he played those patented, non-patented riffs because we all stole them. He's got those signature riffs, that signature sound.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Now, some players that have a very specific, limited diversity of artistic expression in sound, musically and sound-wise. Like they've got their shtick and they stick to it. Are they at an advantage or a disadvantage versus someone like yourself who spent a lifetime exploring an expansive sonic palette?
Well, I think Les Paul's mother said to him, I heard you on the radio last night, and I couldn't tell it was you. It was just some guitar player. And then that, really rocked his world. And he said, I have to develop a signature sound so people know it's me. So, that's one way of looking at it,
That's why you have the seagulls.
Yeah, I guess so. Coley's referring to, I used a guitar synth for many years. And, it had a lot of odd type sounds. So there was a sound that was a couple octaves higher. It was like a violin sound a couple octaves higher with tons of delay on it. And I'd fade it in and out. And, they'd say, put some seagulls on this song, Alan. We need some seagulls over here now.
But it worked. It did. It was a unique...
Yeah.
That was one of your trademarks.
Yeah. And I did a lot of looping gigs over the years where, it was kind of like psychedelic, ambient weirdness, and the synth helped. And actually, you and I did one of those gigs opening up for Tony Levin and Stickmen at the Saint. I played with Tony Levin twice, and you were there at one of those gigs. And that was a big honor and a thrill, because you were asking before, like, well, who'd you open up for?
Yeah.
And that was great. That was a great show. And, basically we got that gig because we didn't have a drum set and we had very little equipment because they had so much equipment all over the stage. It was just like, you just fit your little pedal boards and your little tiny amp on there and we'll let you go.
I don't think it was just that. I think also they had confidence that we would represent Asbury Park capably.
Okay.
For that.
That's a good way of putting it. I was just thinking of the technical.
You gotta give yourself a little credit.
Okay. Yeah. So.
But yes, I mean, for people, what are some of the things Tony Levin has done for people who?
Okay.
I mean, Peter Gabriel, John Lennon,
King Crimson. He played on a bunch of Pink Floyd albums. He played with Paul Simon. But yeah, he's most famous for playing with Peter Gabriel and King Crimson, for sure.
Yeah.
And John Lennon's last album.
Yeah.
And thousands of commercials and movie soundtracks.
Yeah, he's a monster. It was a profound honor to
killer.
share.
And he plays the Chapman stick as well as the bass.
So there you go. That's his shtick.
His shtick is the stick. Yeah. And that was great.
So do you think aspiring musicians are wise to try and like carve out their own little niche? Or in today's world, is it better to be versatile? Because now you have a digital model, right? So you can be like, oh, I'm going to hit my Edge preset.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to hit my Gilmore
Yeah.
preset. Oh, I'm going to hit my Brian May.
Right.
Like, is it better to? I guess it depends on what your aspiration is.
Yeah, I mean, what's the point you're trying to make? You know, you're trying to be like a really original and carve out your own sound, or you're trying to do like, in this particular, like, from recording, you put your producer hat on, it needs this sound. You know what I mean? Which may be a sound that's been heard before.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, but like before Andy Summers from The Police and The Edge, you didn't hear digital delay in a Burger King commercial.
Right.
They took those sounds and they made them kind of like stock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. What have we overlooked?
We
can always do a part 2 as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I could mention a couple other bands I played with. I could mention a couple other people I opened up for.
Yeah.
What do you want? Which one?
Let's keep rolling out the hits.
Okay. I've opened shows for, like we said, Chuck Berry, the Stickmen, Jeff Healey, who was the guitar player who was in that Roadhouse movie with Patrick Swayze.
Yeah, great.
I've opened
and he played it blind.
Yeah.
The blind guy that wailed.
Screaming.
I saw
guitar
footage
sound.
of him jamming with Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Killer.
And Stevie Ray Vaughan was like, what the fuck?
Killer. Yeah, and a lot of these bands were when I was playing gigs.
Where was that?
Stone Pony. I was playing, in the first iteration of when I was playing with Billy Penn many moons ago.
That's awesome.
We played with Jay Giles' band there. We played Jeff Healey. We played with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers.
Damn.
Yeah, great.
That had to be.
Yeah.
Now, for the listener, what's the background of the John Mayall? I mean,
John Mayall.
Clapton back. I mean, how many?
Mick Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Peter Green.
Peter Green.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was the finishing school of blues in England. And then he moved to America, and he continued to find great guitar players and had great bands. And he continued to tour until he was like 92 years old. And so it was a big, honor. There was a period of time when...
He was like the primordial soup of what was
that's a good way to put it.
The genesis of the best British rock ever.
Yeah. He was the blues man. There was another guy named Alexis Corner in England who wasn't as famous, but the two of them were like, they made blues happen in England. And when blues happened in England and you had Cream and Jeff Beck and the Yardbirds and Jimmy Page and all that kind of stuff, then people in America started paying attention again. So it's interesting that Mayall started this thing that made people in America eventually go, oh yeah, we should investigate
Celebrate
this.
our own heritage.
Yeah, because it was no one wanted to listen to it for a while.
But he was like the rite of passage for an aspiring British rock star.
I mean, he had all the top guitar players, really.
Well, that had to be an incredible honor to open
it
for
was.
him.
It was good. It was great. Playing with Jay Giles was great too. Who the heck else do we play with? We played with a very good guitar player named Roy Rogers. He's fabulous, which is a word I don't use, slide guitar player. And he produced, I think, 2 or 3 Grammy-winning albums for John Lee Hooker. He engineered John Lee Hooker's comeback, really, after being in the Blues Brothers movie. And he told us a lot of funny stories. He said, like, John Lee Hooker, you couldn't feed him pizza at night after 10 o'clock because he would have nightmares about gorillas. And he would talk about it in the recording studio the next day. Well, I had nightmares about gorillas, you know. And he was a killer guitar player. Who the heck else? There's more. There's more, ladies and gentlemen, but it's just escaping me right now. But
that's all right. Well, we've got a lot.
The Sun Rhythm section. It was Elvis's session dudes.
What?
Yeah. This was at Cafe Bar in Long Branch. So it was DJ Fontana, who was Elvis's drummer, you know, when he had drums, when they finally started having drums on the records in '56. And
DJ Fontana did a hell of a lot of other things too.
Oh, sure he did, but that was, you know, where he got his start. Paul Burleson from the Rock and Roll Trio was in that band. You know, they had one of the first versions of like "Train Kept a Rollin'." That was them. They had a lot of big hits. So yeah, we played with a lot of, you know, a lot of cool bands that would pass through the Jersey Shore area. It was good. It was good stuff.
So you got gigs coming up with the Inside Drivers. You're ruminating what the next release will be of Gowa Tronica Volume 2.
Yeah.
What else is?
Well, I do have my rootsy Americana thing that I'd still like to put out. I'm going to try and finish that up. I'm going to call it Americana Rama.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm going to finish that up. So I've stuff. I have ideas.
Awesome. What's a good place online for people to check out your stuff and where you can write your blog posts about whatever you torture yourself for not remembering to say tonight?
Okay. Well, if you go to what the heck is that thing called? Oh my God, Blue Buddha. What's that thing where everyone puts out their own music?
Bandcamp?
Yes. Thank you. Wow, that's funny. Yes, if you go to look up Alan Gowa on Bandcamp, and there's Gowatronic. It's 10 songs, and it's my, I like it. It's screaming rock guitars over electronic kind of beats. I think it's a very interesting combo.
Where can folks check out the Inside Drivers?
InsideDrivers.com, and you can hear our latest recordings. I think we have 6 original tunes up there now, and there's a lot of cool photography and videos and info about where we're going to be next.
And if someone's listening, they wanted to book you for like a solo acoustic cover gig, you're on Facebook and Instagram?
Yes, I am. Just, look up Alan Gowa on Facebook or Alan Gowa on Instagram.
All right, it seems like a good place to wrap it for now. We'll have you back soon to tell the remaining tales.
Well, Coley, thanks so much for having me.
Including the tales of terror about the Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yes, they still scare me. Thanks so much for having me. Like I said, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you, and we'll talk soon.